You look at your plant and feel relieved. The leaves are green. The stems look strong. Everything appears healthy, so you believe it is safe. Then suddenly, everything changes. Leaves begin to droop. Color starts fading. Growth comes to a stop. And a plant that looked full of life begins collapsing right in front of you. How does something healthy die so fast? Here's the truth most people never realize. It did not start dying today. It started dying weeks ago, where you never looked, underground. While your eyes were focused on the leaves, the real battle was happening in the roots, in the soil, in the hidden system that controls every part of the plant's life. Most plants do not die suddenly. They fail silently, then reveal it all at once. And if you only treat what you can see, you may keep repeating the same mistake again and again. Or today, you'll discover why healthy plants suddenly collapse, the quiet warning signs almost everyone misses, and how to protect your plants before the damage ever reaches the surface. The plant you see is only the shadow of what lives below. Most people believe the health of a plant can be judged by looking at its leaves. If the leaves are green, standing upright and looking fresh, they assume the plant is doing perfectly well. If there is new growth, they feel confident everything is healthy. But this is one of the biggest mistakes plant owners make. What you see above the soil is only the outside picture. It is not the full truth. It is only the visible reflection of a hidden system working underneath. The real life of every plant exists below the surface, deep in the root zone where most people rarely look. Your roots are the true foundation of the plant. They pull water from the soil and send it upward through the stems. They collect nutrients that feed every leaf, flower, and branch. They hold the plant in place and help it stay strong during heat, wind, and stress. They are working every hour, even when nothing above the soil seems to be changing. When roots are healthy, a plant can survive many small mistakes. It can recover from missed watering, hot weather, weak sunlight, pruning, and sudden changes. Strong roots give the plant power, balance, and resilience. They are like the hidden engine that keeps everything alive. But when roots begin to struggle, the problem is often invisible at first. This is where many people get confused. A plant can still look healthy while its underground system is already weakening. As the leaves may remain green for days, or even weeks, new growth may still appear. The plant may look calm on the outside while quietly losing strength below. This delay creates false confidence. People continue the same habits because they believe the plant is fine. They keep watering the same way. They ignore the soil condition. They miss the warning signs because the leaves have not yet changed. But underground, the roots may be suffocating, rotting, circling tightly, drying out, or struggling to absorb nutrients. Then one day, the visible symptoms finally arrive. Leaves begin to droop, color starts fading, growth suddenly stops, edges turn brown, stems lose firmness. And the owner feels shocked, thinking the damage happened overnight. But for the plant, it did not happen overnight at all. The struggle may have been building quietly for a long time. This is why so many healthy plants seem to suddenly die. They were not healthy in the way that people imagined. They were simply surviving on the surface while failing underneath. A plant will always show you the past before it shows you the present. By the time leaves reveal distress, the roots have often been asking for help for weeks. That is why great growers do not only watch the leaves, they pay attention to the soil, drainage, watering rhythm, pot size, smell, moisture level, and growth speed. They understand that leaves tell a story, but roots tell the truth. What you see above the soil is not the full reality. It is only the shadow of what lives below, where too much water becomes a silent executioner of roots. Many people believe the safest way to care for a plant is to keep giving it water. They think water always means life, so the more often they water, the more love they are showing. When the weather feels hot, they water. When they feel guilty for forgetting the plant, they water. When a leaf bends slightly, they water again. It feels helpful. It feels responsible. It feels like the right thing to do. But this is where many healthy plants begin their slow decline. Water is essential for life, but too much water can become one of the most dangerous forms of care. What many people do not realize is that roots need two things to survive: moisture and air. Most people only think about the moisture part and completely forget the air part. Okay, healthy soil is not meant to stay soaked all the time. Good soil contains tiny spaces filled with oxygen. These hidden pockets of air are just as important as water because roots breathe through them. Roots are living tissue. They need oxygen to create energy, absorb nutrients, and stay strong. When soil stays constantly wet, Those air spaces disappear. The soil becomes heavy. The roots sit in a suffocating environment. They cannot breathe properly. They begin to weaken in silence. At first, nothing dramatic happens above the surface. The leaves may still look green. The plant may still appear normal. This creates a dangerous illusion that everything is fine. Meanwhile, underground, the roots are slowly losing strength day after day. Then the damage deepens. Weak roots become soft. Soft roots become vulnerable. Voracious fungi and bacteria that begin spreading in the wet soil and show rot starts quietly where no one can see it. The root tips of dirt, which are the most active and important parts of the system, begin dying first. Once those delicate tips are damaged, the plant loses its ability to drink and feed itself properly. Now something confusing happens. The soil is wet, but the plant begins to wilt. Leaves droop, growth slows, color fades, and many people make the same mistake again. They see drooping leaves and assume the plant is thirsty, so they add even more water. They try to save it with the very thing that is harming it. This is how overwatering becomes a trap. The symptoms look like thirst, the cause is drowning. Too much water is dangerous because it works slowly and quietly. A dry plant often shows stress quickly, which makes people respond fast. But an overwatered plant can stay green while the roots are failing below. By the time the leaves clearly show distress, the underground damage may already be serious. This is why some plants seem to collapse for no reason. They were not suddenly attacked. They were slowly weakened by constant wetness. Real watering is not about giving water every day or following a strict schedule. It is about understanding timing. It is about checking the soil, feeling the weight of the pot, noticing the plant's environment, and allowing healthy drying between waterings. Roots need cycles. They need moisture, then they need air. Then they need moisture again. That natural rhythm creates strength. Constant wetness creates weakness. The healthiest plants are often not the most frequently watered plants. They are the plants whose roots are allowed to breathe, search, recover, and grow deeper. Many people kill with kindness because they confuse more care with better care. But wisdom in plant care is not giving more. It is giving what is needed at the right time. Because water can be life in balance and a silent executioner in excess. Beautiful soil can secretly become a graveyard. Underground, many people trust soil by how it looks. If it appears dark, rich, soft, and clean on the surface, they assume it must be healthy. If it came from a bag with bright labels and promises, they believe the plant is safe. If the top layer looks neat and fresh, they feel confident that the roots are thriving below. But soil can be one of the most deceptive parts of plant care. What looks beautiful on top can be slowly destroying life underneath. Because roots do not judge soil by color. They judge it by how it feels, how it drains, how it breathes, and whether it gives them room to live. Soil is not just dirt holding a plant upright. It is the entire underground environment where roots eat, drink, breathe, stretch, heal, and grow. It is the hidden world that decides whether a plant becomes strong or slowly declines. When that world becomes unhealthy, the plant suffers long before the leaves reveal the truth. One of the most common problems is compaction. Over time, soil particles press together. Watering, age, gravity, and repeated settling slowly squeeze the spaces between them. The soft mix that once held air becomes dense and heavy. Roots trying to grow through it meet resistance in every direction. They cannot spread freely. They cannot breathe well. They cannot explore for moisture and nutrients. They become trapped in a shrinking world. Another danger is a waterlogged soil. Some mixes hold far more moisture than roots can handle. They stay wet for too long after watering. The surface may look dry, while the center remains soaked for days. This hidden wet zone becomes a place where roots weaken, oxygen disappears, and rot quietly begins. Then there is the opposite problem. Some soil becomes so dry and hardened that water no longer enters properly. It pulls away from the edges of the pot and forms cracks. When you water, the moisture may run straight down the sides and out the drainage holes, while the center remains dry. The owner thinks the plant has been watered, but the roots receive very little. This is why soil problems are so dangerous. They create confusion. You water, but the plant stays thirsty. You feed, but the plant stays weak. You care more, but the results get worse. Because the issue is not effort. The issue is the environment below. Old soil also loses life over time. Organic material breaks down. Texture disappears. Drainage changes. Salts from fertilizers can build up. The mix that once supported growth becomes stale and exhausted. It may still hold the plant in place, but it no longer supports vibrant life. And still, many people keep adding fertilizer. They try to force growth from a root system living in poor conditions. But feeding roots trapped in bad soil is like offering food to someone locked in a room with no air. The real need is not more nutrients. The real need is freedom. Fresh, balanced soil can completely change a struggling plant. When roots enter a mix that drains well, holds enough moisture, and contains healthy air spaces, something powerful happens. Growth returns. Leaves strengthen. New shoots appear. Color deepens. Energy comes back. What looked like a dying plant was often a suffocated root system waiting for better ground. Great growers understand that soil is never just background material. It is the plant's unseen home. And if that home becomes heavy, stale, wet, or lifeless, even a healthy-looking plant can begin moving toward collapse. So never trust soil only by what your eyes can see. Some of the most dangerous soil looks beautiful on the surface, while underneath, it has quietly become of a graveyard underground. The pot that once protected it can slowly become a prison. In the beginning, a pot feels like protection. It gives the plant a safe place to grow. It holds moisture, supports the roots, and creates a controlled environment where the young plant can establish itself. The container feels helpful, clean, and practical. It seems like the perfect home. And for a time, it is. But what helps a plant in one season can slowly limit it in the next. Because while leaves grow where you can see them, roots are also growing where you cannot. Every new leaf above the soil usually means a new root growth below it. As the plant becomes larger, the underground system searches for more space, more water, and more nutrients. Then one day, the roots reach the walls of the pot. And instead of moving outward, they begin turning in circles. They wrap around themselves. They cross over older roots. They tangle tighter and tighter with each passing month. While the plant may still look healthy above the surface, so most people notice nothing. But below, the root system is no longer expanding naturally. It is repeating the same path again and again inside a limited space. This is where the pot begins changing from shelter into prison. Crowded roots compete with themselves for every drop of water and every bit of nutrition. There is less fresh soil available. Moisture disappears faster after watering. Nutrients are used quickly. The plant becomes more sensitive to heat, missed watering, and stress. A plant that once needed water every week may suddenly dry out in 2 days. A plant that once grew quickly may stop pushing new leaves. A plant that once looked vibrant may begin looking tired, thin, or pale. And many people respond the wrong way. They add more fertilizer. Or they water more often. They trim leaves. They move it around the house. But none of those actions solve the real problem. The roots have simply run out of room to live. Sometimes roots become so dense that water passes straight through the pot without soaking evenly. Other times the center becomes packed and stale while the outer edges dry too fast. In some cases, roots circle so tightly that they begin strangling themselves, reducing the plant's strength little by little. Then comes a moment many owners call sudden decline. Leaves droop faster than before. Growth stalls completely. Yellowing begins. Branches weaken. The plant no longer responds the way it once did. But this decline did not begin suddenly. It began the day the roots first touched the walls and had nowhere left to go. Some plants can tolerate tight spaces for a while, others suffer quickly. But eventually, every growing root system needs room. Life wants expansion. When expansion is blocked too long, weakness follows. Repotting is not just changing containers. It is giving the plant a new future. Fresh soil brings oxygen. Extra space allows roots to spread naturally again. Water holds more evenly. Nutrients become available. Stress resistance improves. Sometimes within weeks of moving into a better pot, a struggling plant sends out stronger leaves, deeper color, and fresh growth that seemed impossible before. This is why experienced growers do not only watch the leaves, they watch the relationship between plant size, pot size, watering speed, and growth rhythm. They understand that when the top keeps growing but the bottom has nowhere to go, should trouble is coming, the container that once saved the plant can quietly begin limiting it. The pot that once protected life can slowly become a cage. And many plants are not asking for more water or more fertilizer. They are simply asking for space. Every plant whispers warnings before it finally falls. Most plants do not collapse without warning. They speak first, not with words, but with small changes that many people overlook. Tiny signals begin appearing long before the dramatic moment of drooping leaves, some yellow branches, or a sudden decline. The problem is not that plants stay silent. The problem is that their first warnings are quiet. Many owners only react when the damage becomes obvious. They wait until leaves are falling, they wait until stems turn soft, they wait until half the plant looks lifeless. But by the time a plant has to shout, it has usually been whispering for a long time. One of the earliest warnings is slower growth. A plant that once pushed new leaves regularly may suddenly pause. Days turn into weeks with little movement. Nothing seems terribly wrong, so many people ignore it. But slowed growth often means the root system is under stress, the soil environment has changed, or the plant no longer has the strength it once had. Another warning is smaller new growth. Fresh leaves may still appear, but they come in thinner, shorter, weaker, or lighter in color. This is the plant trying to continue with reduced energy. It is surviving but not thriving. Leaves can also lose their shine. Healthy leaves often have a certain richness, firmness, and presence. When that glow fades, when the texture feels tired, when the color becomes dull, the plant may be telling you that nutrients, roots, moisture balance, or light are no longer supporting it well. Then there is the pattern of yellowing. One lower leaf turning yellow may be natural, but repeated yellowing, especially when it becomes frequent, is often a sign that the plant is sacrificing older leaves to preserve newer growth. It is managing stress with the resources it has left. Water behavior also speaks loudly. If the soil suddenly stays wet much longer than before, roots may be weakening and drinking less. If the pot dries far faster than usual, roots may have become crowded, or the plant may be stressed by heat and confinement. When watering patterns suddenly change, something below the surface often changes first. Even smell can be a message. So healthy soil usually smells earthy and clean. Sour, swampy, or unpleasant smells can signal that trapped moisture, poor airflow, and decay underground. Many people notice the smell but dismiss it, not realizing the plant may already be struggling at the roots. Stems and posture also reveal hidden truth. A plant may lean more than usual. Leaves may angle downward without becoming fully limp. Stems may lose firmness. The whole plant can begin looking less confident, less balanced, less alive. These are subtle warnings before major decline. And sometimes the biggest sign is energy. The plant simply looks off. Not dying, not dramatic, just different. Experienced growers trust this instinct because they know health has a feeling before it has visible symptoms. The danger comes when people chase only emergencies. They rush in after collapse, but ignore the slow signals that came weeks earlier. They treat the final stage while missing the first cause. Strong growers learn another way. They notice patterns. They compare today with last month. They observe how fast the plant drinks, how often it grows, how leaves feel, how color changes, how soil smells, how posture shifts. They understand that care is not only action. Care is attention. A plant rarely fails in a single day. It usually declines in layers. First the whispers, then the warnings, then the visible damage, then the fall. If you learn to hear the whispers, you can prevent the fall entirely, because every plant tries to tell you the truth before it finally collapses. You only need to notice before silence arrives. Healthy plants rarely die as suddenly as they seem. And what looks like an overnight collapse is often the final chapter of a story that began quietly underground. The roots were struggling long before the leaves showed fear. The soil was changing long before color began to fade. The warnings were present long before the plant finally fell. This is why great plant care is not about reacting to emergencies. It is about understanding hidden causes. It is about seeing beyond the leaves. It is about noticing moisture balance, soil condition, and root space, growth rhythm, and the small signals most people ignore. When you only watch the surface, plants will continue surprising you. But when you understand what happens below the surface, everything changes. You stop overwatering. You refresh tired soil. You repot before roots become trapped. You notice whispers before they become damage. As you become calm, observant, and confident, that is the real difference between losing plants again and again, and growing strong, thriving ones for years. Remember this truth. Leaves show the result. Roots reveal the cause. And the healthiest plants are not created by the luck. They are created by people who learn to care for what cannot be seen, because every beautiful plant begins its strength underground.